Breaking now, a major airport closed for hours and a section of its arrivals area destroyed after a massive fire. Take a look at the scene in Nairobi. Kenya's capital city is home to one of East Africa's most important transportation hubs. We're told the fire began in the morning, the time of day, of course, when many flights from Europe are scheduled to arrive. At this point, there is no word of any serious injuries. Late today, their time, of course, the airport reopened to domestic and cargo flights. International flights will begin landing tomorrow. Now, this fire comes 15 years to the day after Al-Qaeda terrorists bombed our embassies in Kenya and neighboring Tanzania. That coordinated set of attacks killed more than 200 people in 1998, 12 of them Americans. Kenya's anti-terror chief reportedly said that further investigation is needed now before any conclusions can be made about whether terrorism played a role in today's fire. But our own David Lee Miller was in Kenya to cover the devastation in the immediate aftermath of that terror attack in Nairobi, and he joins us now. Hearing about all of this, I suppose, especially all of the embassy closings, brings back some memories?
Indeed it does. It seems like so much has changed, yet so much is still the same. Juxtapose Benghazi with what happened 15 years ago in Africa. An investigation by Congress concluded, Greg, that it was a massive intelligence failure, an intelligence failure on so many levels. There were clues dating as far back as 1997 that something was up. The information was not specific. Nothing was acted upon. So when I got there, shortly after the attacks took place, the devastation was nothing less than horrific. Take a look at this brief clip. This is from 15 years ago outside what was left of the embassy in Kenya.
Sure.
Here we go.
It is impossible to imagine what life might be like for someone trapped under tons of rubble now for more than 48 hours. But if there is a chance, no matter how remote, someone might still be alive, rescuers say they will not give up. As for the investigation, it is still not clear what group might be responsible for the attack.
That was 48 hours, Greg. 48 hours after the attack, no clue. This was before Osama bin Laden was a household name. The investigation concluded the U.S. simply wasn't equipped to investigate someone described as a transnational like Osama bin Laden. And lastly, I should say that the U.S. ambassador at that embassy wrote Washington to say that it was extremely vulnerable. Her request essentially ignored. Washington said the threat level was described as
just like the warnings Christopher Stevens gave to Washington in advance of the Benghazi attack, which invites the question, what lessons have been learned in the past 15 years?
Well, if you go back 15 years ago, the budget for embassy defense is about $200 million. Today, the State Department is requesting about $1.6 billion. And yes, there were lessons learned. There were changes made, some dramatic improvements in the perimeters. They installed blast walls. They also added more staff, different types of checkpoints. But at the end of the day, it still seems that U.S. property, our embassies, consulates, and missions overseas are still vulnerable. Look at the very fact, Greg, that a number of them simply had to be shut down. What does that tell you?
Yeah, indeed. David Lee Miller. David, thanks very much. Jenna?